stage 5 of the Gravel Burn.
I would really love to bring it home.
Sunrise on day 5. For most, if not all of the Burn community, the 4 days of camping in Avontuur, Graafrenet and Blaauwater has been a rare and deeply fulfilling experience. Genuine Karoo hospitality ensured that both local and international riders are fully immersed in their first Nedbank Gravel Burn experience. And so the wondrous journey through a harsh but hospitable land continues. In between stage racing's daily routine, pockets of delight and morsels of pleasure will continue to surprise this group of Nedbank Gravel Burn originals. The 5th morning, Blaauwater Burn Camp in the heart of the Great Karoo. The Burn community were in sync, an Olympic champion washing bottles with an age group rider. Shared experiences. Simple pleasures enjoyed with new friends and old acquaintances.
Well, I just love an adventure and I love a challenge. And my favourite way to see a new place is by bike. So this ticked all the boxes. I knew it was going to be pretty hard, and that is part of why I signed up. But also I knew I'd see all this amazing scenery. And getting to the Burn camp on the first day was a real highlight because I had no idea it was going to be this luxurious, basically. Like, they'd set up a bar and they had a DJ and the catering is absolutely amazing and you're in the middle of nowhere. I just didn't expect it at all. So that was a real highlight.
Camp has been unbelievable. The fire at night and the vibes and the tents and this kind of production, the scale of it is just so unbelievable that it's hard to take it in, and it actually takes a few days to kind of settle into it. This is the kind of rugged thing that I think we sign up for to really test ourselves. And it's rugged, but it's luxury, and it's this kind of combination of an experience that's just so powerful.
So the camp is incredible. I think I had anticipated that it would really be quite something, but all of the details that have been thought of and taken care of, we're really in our own little communities within the camp. Our lapas are smaller and we're with the same people each place we go. The food has been amazing and plentiful, and the crew and the team could not be more helpful and happy to be here and pleasant and excited for all of us. The facilities have really been great. I've been sleeping well. I really am very comfortable and happy.
The out and back loop from Blaauwater Camp offered both opportunities and risks for stage hunters and GC chasers. The men's elite batch was whittled down to 16 riders on the first of 3 tough climbs, Tafelkop. New faces of the sharp end included Georg Geger, Alex Miller and Lachlan Morton. The second test came shortly afterwards, and early enough that all 16 survivors of Tafelkop could safely summit Leeuwkop. The wide open spaces of the Sneeuwberg Conservancy was a sight for sore eyes. The lead bunch were given a first-hand dramatic view of the wildebeest that roam these beautiful plains. The high altitude and a cruel headwind out of the northwest played a critical role in the relatively sedate pace being maintained by the bunch. German champion Andreas Seewald's hopes of making an impact on the race were compromised by a puncture which he fixed with the aid of a CO2 cartridge and a dose of calm and experience. On the drag towards the Compass climb, Tom Pidcock faded, reserving his legs for a tilt at a stage win later in the race. The lead group of 8 descended off the Sneeuwberg into New Bethesda, a 150-year-old village dominated by a magnificent neo-Gothic-style church. It took another 15 kilometers before the fireworks went off. Simon Pelord launched a powerful attack that only the Ember leader jersey Matt Beers could follow. Working in harmony by swapping regular turns on the front, the pair quickly opened a gap to the chasers. Pelord went hard up at Tafelkop, but an exhibition of fearless descending by Beers saw to it that the specialized off-road racing rider could open a sizable gap and he used his formidable power on the drag to the line to keep Pinarello at bay and claim a third stage win in 4 days. Pinarello is still within a minute of Beers. Baum, though, lost nearly 4 minutes, and he is just 20 seconds ahead of French champion Hugo Dreschow. Three days of the women's elite race was desperately close, with just 12 seconds separating the top two, Axelle Dubau-Prevot and Ashley Moolman-Pasio. A group of 7 riders moved clear on the steep climb up Tafelkop. The leading pair, as well as the 2 Haleys, Preen and Smith, Americans Melissa Rollins and Lauren Stevens, and Olivia Hottinger. Stage 3 winner Lauren Stevens launched a trademark attack from the back of the group, but the bunch were not going to let the American champion go and hauled her in double quick time. Preen, for a third day in a row, met with bad luck. She had to stop to reset a ship chain. Precious time and energy lost in the chase back to the group. But the biggest casualty of the day was the race leader, Dubau-Prevot, who suffered a double puncture and had to stop at the neutral tech zone. The distraught Frenchwoman was to lose nearly 10 minutes on the stage. It was tense racing, and Hayley Smith clashed with Stevens and hit the dirt. She was bruised, bloodied and clearly shaken as she rode gingerly behind the leaders for the rest of the stage. The final climb saw Koppenberg's gutsy assault on the stage and GC fade as Moolman-Pasio, Preen, Rollins and Stevens crested the summit. Rollins then bolted down the descent, and eventually, having got past the other 2, Preen set off in pursuit. The South African drew closer, but American Rollins carried too much power over the last kilometres and took the stage win. Dubau-Prevot's disastrous day saw her tumble down to 6th place. Moolman-Pasio inherited the leader's jersey, and she goes into stage 5 with 1 minute and 9 seconds over Rollins, with Preen 5 minutes and 1 second back in 3rd. Stage 5 is significantly different to the previous 4. It's the second longest and has the most kilometres on tar as they transition to the east. They won't see gravel for 60 kilometres after the first 10. The riders will reach the highest point of the stage on the Vaarpadsberg Pass, and then the trend is mostly downhill, but not to be underestimated. They ride near the Fish River before taking on the longest climb of the week on dirt roads, the 11-kilometre Swaershoek Pass. The finish line is at the summit before a roll down into the warm embrace of Merino camp. Half an hour earlier than the previous stages, the riders rolled up to the start line, not something the European riders are accustomed to, but no issues for big Matt Beers in the Assos Ember leaders jersey. Simon Pelot, though, could be a thorn in his side on stage 5. Just 57 seconds separated the pair at the top of the GC standings. And after 4 days, the long pull to Merino camp would certainly be tough. Ashley Moolman-Pasio, first day in the leaders jersey.
Of course, it's always nice to be in a leader's jersey, and especially at a South African race. It's home territory, so I'm really happy to be in it and looking forward to the day. We'll have to see how it plays out, but of course the final climb is the distinctive point, obviously. It will be about kind of staying in contact, trying to take it as easy as possible, and then waiting for that final climb.
The 2 Americans, Rollins and Stevens, sharing pre-ride thoughts.
Yeah, it will be more like a road race today. I think tactics come into play today. The goal is to save as much energy as possible for the last climb, and then we go full gas there.
I'm feeling really good this morning. Had a really good night's sleep. Big stage ahead, our longest stage with a mountaintop finish. But I'm feeling good and I'm feeling strong. So I guess we'll just have to see how it goes on that last climb.
Tension building. Lachlan Morton was relaxed. Andreas Servold, well, that could be a warm-up. That certainly was. So the scene was set. The tension building, the longest stage of the race thus far. A blast from the Kudu Horn, and the elite men's bunch headed away from Blaauwater camp after 2 nights, taking with them onto the road memories of hearty home-cooked meals and warm fires. It took less than 5 kilometers into the neutral zone for the first drama of the day. Race leader Matt Beers stopped with a rear wheel flat. The benefits of having trade teammates was graphically illustrated when Toyota Specialized Travis Steadman and Johan van Zyl stopped to assist him. The peloton waited after van Zyl had donated his wheel, and the Assos Ember leader's jersey was back in the group thanks to the assistance of Travis Steadman. First to attack on the R61, in the early kilometres of what would be 60-odd kilometres on the tar road, was Cameron Wurf. He didn't last long up there, but it did give the platform to Marco Hubert and Lucas Baum to attack. The peloton, shielding against the wind with Matt Beers dictating the pace, were in the gutter. Lucas Postelberger, World Tour racer, Grand Tour stage winner, loving the descent off the Waarbergspad. In hot pursuit of that breakaway of Marco Hubert and Lucas Baum. Eventually, they were called to heel, mainly because Marco Hubert picked up a puncture and began losing time, as did his teammate Tristan Norkier. The group are all still together as they made their way past Cradock and into the day's defining moment. The Swaershoek Pass tops out at around 1,700 meters. It's 11 kilometers of gravel road climb that links the towns of Cradock and Pearston in the Eastern Cape. It's as remote as you can get, but the views are absolutely stunning. Postelberger doing a long turn on the front of the group, as he has done throughout this week, but he's still not particularly high up in general classification, but enjoying his first experience of racing on the roads of South Africa. Hugo Dreschu there, third wheel, André Frischknecht, Lucas Baum, his partner Georg Egger, and Tom Pidcock tucked in there, as well as Andreas Seerwald, Peter Stettiner, and Matt Beers, quite far back in the group here, with Simon Pelot just dragging himself on the back wheel of the overall leader. Just 57 seconds between them at the start of the day. Postelberger has been in absolutely superb form all week, doing a lot of the hard yards on the front of the group, and again he was dragging this long peloton of riders up the Swaershoek Pass. Tom Pidcock was in there, as well as Andreas Seerwald, Peter Stettiner, and Matt Beers quite far back for the general classification leader, as Simon Pelot pulled himself up onto Beers' back wheel. They would watch each other like hawks, with just 57 seconds between the pair at the start of this day's stage. This is the Nedbank Gravel Burn Stage 5. There was motivation here for every single one of these riders. General classification positions were up for grabs, with Marco Hubert and Tristan Norkier way back off the back due to their mechanical issues. There was opportunity for the likes of Travis Steadman, as well as Neff and André Frischknecht and Andreas Seerwald. And it was Seerwald who attacked first as the road started to tilt uphill. The German champion and former marathon world champion has the strength, has the pedigree to take it all the way to the top. But he had to contend with some fierce rivals and world-class racers in the bunch chasing him, one of whom was Tom Pidcock. With Mathieu de Marquis up the road, Pidcock decided to join him. The general classification was up for grabs. It split into two races, one for the stage honours and one to determine the general classification. Beers and Pelot in the forefront of that battle. Meanwhile, the drag across to Andreas Seerwald, the lone leader, continued. It was Mathieu de Marquis who had been joined by the Olympic mountain bike champion Tom Pidcock. Anonymous through the first 4 days of the race, he decided to target this stage with a summit finish. Seerwald digging deep to try and take it all the way to the line, the German. But he had a man who's one of the top of Alpe d'Huez and the Tour de France on his wheel. And soon enough, Tom Pidcock had passed Andreas Seerwald with 5 kilometers to go, and the gap started to widen. Matt Beers was struggling today. It wasn't his best, and he was under pressure from Simon Pelot, who knew he could take an opportunity and eke back some of the time he'd lost to Matt Beers. But it was all about Tom Pidcock as he summited the Swaershoek Pass as the winner of Stage 5 at the Nedbank Gravel Burn. The world's best, stepping up when it matters most. Andreas Servold came home in second place, a brave, bold effort, his best result of the week. And Simon Pelord powering over the line to take seconds, precious seconds away from the fighting Matt Beers out of the saddle over the last couple of meters with Hugo Drescher on his wheel. Beers limiting his losses. He will hold on to the Ember leader's jersey. What a battle up Swaershoek Pass. Thomas Pidcock takes the win, 43 seconds ahead of Servold. Pelord in third place. And Peter Stettiner, Matt Beers, Hugo Drescher close out the top 6.
Like climbs like that, I'm really not comfortable, and it's when you're not in perfect shape. It's about just trying to find your rhythm, but you don't know where that is, so it's difficult. You keep going over and under what you can sustain. Right. Yeah, I think when you get in the zone a bit, and start focusing on your breathing and just turning your legs, then yeah, you can go. The rest of the time, I was been thinking about how much my legs hurt, and this is too hard, and it's probably some wildlife here that I could be looking at, but focus on racing. So no, then it was it's enough suffering now for this racing.
The general classification is tantalisingly poised for a thrilling conclusion to the first Nedbank Gravel Burn. 33 seconds between the top two, with Hugo Drescher now in third place, 6:42 down. After 4 days of hard riding all the way from Neisner to Blaauwater Farm, and with the prospect of riding 137 kilometres to Merino Farm on Stage 5, the women's peloton were at a relatively sedate pace as they climbed up and over Wapatsberg. On the descent, well, the roadies came to the fore, and don't they just love it? Jana Giegler and Clara Koppenberg, the Cofidis rider who raced the Tour de France Femme earlier this year, were in their element, as was Alison Jackson, the Canadian absolutely loving being on the roads, the 2023 Roubaix champion. Another Canadian, Hayley Smith, consistent all week as Hayley Smith, and time on the front. Conversation in the peloton, such was the relatively docile pace of the peloton. They had bigger fish to fry later in the day with a summit finish at the top of the Swaershoek Pass. As they got towards the end of the road section, an age group peloton passed them, and Emma van Stock, the Belgian, decided she would latch onto that group. The Belgian managed to cruise past them and to the front of that group, powering down the tar road. Back onto the gravel and the dirt. Rough it was too. The peloton still relatively cohesive as they started chasing down the Belgian, who had built a lead of almost 2.5 minutes. Race leader Ashley Moorman-Passio defending a lead over Melissa Rollins of 1 minute and 9 seconds. Alison Jackson, well, we haven't seen her in this sort of form yet. It's off-season for the EF Education Oatly rider, but wonderful to see her blast out of the chase group and set off in pursuit of this young lady, Emma van Stock. Jackson, of course, the road race champion of Canada at the moment, and a winner of a stage at the Vuelta Femenina in 2024. This her last year with the EF Education Oatly team. Even the construction workers paused to watch the peloton fly past. What a sight, what an unusual sight for them. Cruising through the dairy farms on the banks of the Fish Rivers, they closed in on Gruber, formerly known as Cradock. Hayley Smith flicking riders through. Melissa Rollins responded. Clara Koppenberg in there as well. But still, out front was Emma van Stock, the Belgian rider. Not for too long though, eventually she was caught as they closed in on Cradock. Hayley Preen, Ashley Moorman-Passio, all the big hitters in there. Melissa Rollins, the top 3 on general classification. The one rider who had much to gain today was the French rider, former leader of the race, Axelle Dubau-Prevot. Alison Jackson then onto the gravel as they began the lower slopes of the climb. And immediately an attack from Lauren Stevens, the American champion, already a stage winner this week. And going with her was Axelle Dubau-Prevot. She sensed an opportunity, if she stayed with Lauren Stevens, that she could gain some of the time she lost on stage 4. Ashley Montpassio had to work really hard to find the back wheel of the Frenchwoman. Stevens backed off and the Frenchwoman went to the front. Montpassio sensed this is a wheel she would have to follow if she wanted to win this stage and continue to build a lead over Melissa Rollins, who was not in this group, the second place rider, minute and 9 down at the start of the day. Dubau-Prevot with 2 stage wins and a couple of days in the leader's jersey this week already. Montpassio has yet to win a stage. She was desperate to rectify that, going past some age group riders. Down she goes, the South African, to the gravel that would cost her time and precious energy. But Dubau-Prevot eased up and said, come back and join me. Great sportsmanship inside the Nedbank Gravel Burn here. And hostilities resumed once Montpassio was back with the French rider. But she was on a mission. Losing 10 minutes on the previous day, Dubau-Prevot was desperate to try and claw her way back towards the podium. She was 9:21 down in 6th place at the start of today's stage. Whilst riding with Montpassio wasn't going to help her take back the lead, she was certainly making inroads into those riders ahead of her on the general classification, the likes of Melissa Rollins and Lauren Stevens and Hayley Preen. The pair rode at tempo up the climb. There was still a long and very steep climb over the last kilometer to conquer. Watching each other closely. Meanwhile, behind, Lauren Stevens, the American champion, was stalking them. Steady tempo from Lauren Stevens. And inside the last kilometer, it was Axelle Dubau-Prevot who turned on the afterburners, and she started riding away from one of the world's great climbers, Ashley Montpassio. A phenomenal performance by the French rider. Montpassio had no answer. She could not respond to the power and the strength, and another stage win for Axelle Dubau-Prevot. Second, Lauren Stevens also passed Ashley Montpassio. Hayley Preen in third. A wonderful ride by all of them, and Melissa Rollins managing to salvage her second place on GC. She is now 4 minutes and 20 seconds down on Ashley Montpassio. Preen 6:31 down. Axelle Dubau-Prevot is now in 5th place, 8:54 down.
To be honest, yesterday, just before going to sleep, I was like, what the f*** I'm doing here? I want to go home. I was doing so well, and I felt like it's unfair. The goal this week to improve myself as a rider, with Ashley, with Lauren, with Melissa, and so yeah, it worked for me. So I'm really happy, not because of the win, but also because of the lesson here.
As the sun beat down on the Merino burn camp, the specialized-led team of mechanics got down to the job of washing, servicing and lubing the bikes. They're a dedicated lot. Experts in their field, they'll burn the midnight oil once again. A recovery massage after the stage ensured the riders would be in top condition to tackle stage 6.
So Nedbank Gravel Burn for me is an incredible challenge, an amazing adventure, and the best way to see South Africa on a bike. If you're looking for something that's tough but rewarding, with amazing scenery, and also somewhere that you're really looked after very well, then this is the one. But every time that I'm feeling tired or sore, rather than thinking, oh, I can't wait to get to the end of the stage, I think this is exactly where I wanted to be. This is exactly what I wanted to do. I wouldn't have signed up if it was going to be easy and all the boxes are being ticked.
On and off the bike, the Nedbank Gravel Burn was meeting riders' expectations. Post-ride recovery began with a healthy, hearty, freshly prepared meal. On an afternoon siesta was the choice of some. Those who sought another form of relaxation were entertained in true Nedbank Gravel Burn style. Another remote outpost created out of an arid farm field, thanks to the generosity of farmer Woomville. The race had reached the sheep and dairy farms of the Eastern Cape, but don't be fooled, the toughest day of all loomed. Stage 6, the Queen Stage. At 144 kilometres of 3 major climbs and a total of 1,700 metres of ascending. The route takes them into the remote Eastern Cape bush over some of the roughest terrain of the week. A long and winding road to Guaniche awaits. Will the much-travelled Swiss maestro Simon Pelot find more inspiration and energy in his colossal vault of racing experience? Will it be the local legend, the Niesendale, who'll hammer home his advantage with a characteristic display of power riding? It's all to play for in the inaugural Nedbank Gravel Burn.